When anything among the creations of God seems to us worthy of blame, we must conclude that it is not sufficiently understood by us and that a sage who would comprehend it would decide that it is impossible even to wish for anything better. The real world is the best. To love is to find one's own happiness in the happiness of another. Love is the tendency to find pleasure in the good, perfection, happiness of another person. If geometry were as contrary to our passions and interests as morality, then we would also argue against it and violate it in spite of all evidence. Music is the unconscious exercise of the soul in arithmetic. The present is always fraught with the future. Every person is inherent in the freedom to perform any act, that is, what he considers best. People have never discovered greater wit than in inventing the game. We are the freer the more we act according to reason, and the more we are enslaved the more we succumb to passions. Grief is the anxiety of the soul when it thinks of a lost good that it could enjoy longer, or when it is tormented by the evil it is currently experiencing. Libraries are the treasuries of all the treasures of the human spirit. The Absolute is nothing but the attributes of God. Without suffering, is there any pleasure? He who has not tasted bitter does not deserve sweet and will not even be able to appreciate it. No truth should be neglected. In general, when is a being free? When it corresponds to its being. Proved by examples can never be considered fully proven. Envy is a restlessness, displeasure, of the soul, arising from the fact that another person possesses the good we desire, whom we no longer consider us worthy to own it. Ideas are, as it were, the matter of thoughts. He who does not form unity with himself is not free. People despise not so much vice as weakness and unhappiness. Moral necessity interferes little with freedom, for whoever chooses the best does not become less free from this. On the contrary, the most perfect freedom rather consists precisely in the fact that nothing interferes with acting in the best way. It is not common for a wise man to waste his strength beyond what is necessary. We are made to think. It is not necessary that we live, but it is necessary that we think. To the question why there is actually an infinite number of monads, I answer, so that they are able to reveal all the richness of divine creation. The present is great together with the future. Our happiness does not and should not consist in complete satisfaction, in which there would be nothing left to desire, which would only contribute to the dullness of the mind. The eternal striving for new pleasures and new perfections, this is happiness. Truly there are two labyrinths in the human spirit, one concerning the structure of the continuum and the other concerning the nature of freedom, and both spring from exactly the same source, infinity. Truth is more common than is believed, but very often it is embellished, covered up and even belittled, perverted by accretions that spoil it and make it less useful. Music is the joy of the soul, which calculates without realizing it. Light rays emanating from an infinite number of objects and passing through a small gap, without mixing with each other, as can be observed in a dark room, serve as a prototype of a refined spiritual world. Modest people, being only witnesses to an indecent act, experience feelings similar to shame. Since the nature of any simple substance is such that its subsequent state is the result of the previous one, then this is the cause of all harmony. I do not despise mystics, their thoughts are for the most part vague, but since they usually use beautiful allegories and touching images, this can contribute to the accessibility of truth. I despise almost nothing. Nobody has a less critical spirit than I. It sounds strange, but I agree with almost everything that I read. I know too well how diverse things are, and therefore, when reading, I always immediately come across which explains and justifies the author. I would walk 20 miles to listen to my worst enemy if I could learn anything from him. I completely agree with Malebranche and Cicero when they say that man is not born for himself, but for others. I am of the opinion that a bad head, having auxiliary advantages and exercising them, can outdo the best one, just as a child can draw a line on a ruler better than the greatest master by hand. Language is the best mirror of the human spirit, and by careful analysis of the meaning of words, we can best understand the workings of the mind.